Before plunging into the depths of the Battle of Stalingrad, it's crucial to illuminate the grim backdrop against which this harrowing conflict unfolded. Stalingrad, situated along the banks of the Volga River, metamorphosed into the epicenter of an unprecedented and brutal clash between the Soviet Union and Nazi Germany. Adolf Hitler's insatiable appetite for dominion over the oil-rich Caucasus region served as the catalyst for the German forces' inexorable push towards Stalingrad in the summer of 1942. The city's strategic significance, coupled with Hitler's grandiose ambitions, set the stage for a protracted and unforgiving struggle that would etch its name indelibly in the annals of history. The fate of Stalingrad, as it stood in the crosshairs of warring ideologies, would come to symbolize the very essence of the colossal conflict that was World War II. The Battle of Stalingrad unfolded as a colossal human drama, drawing in a staggering 2 million men into its relentless maw. At the forefront of this monumental clash were the opposing titans, the German Sixth Army, commanded by General Friedrich Paulus, and the Soviet forces under the indomitable leadership of General Vasily Chuikov. However, the strategic prowess that would prove crucial in the Soviet defense was not solely the domain of General Chuikov. Marshal Georgy Zhukov, a mastermind of military strategy and one of the Soviet Union's most esteemed commanders, provided crucial guidance, shaping the overall course of the battle. As the fate of Stalingrad hung in the balance, these commanders orchestrated the movements of millions, their decisions echoing through the ruins of the city and resonating across the vast Eastern Front. The clash between these military juggernauts would not only determine the fate of Stalingrad, but would also set the stage for a profound turning point in the broader tapestry of World War II. The initial weeks of the Battle of Stalingrad witnessed a gruesome ballet of warfare, with the urban landscape serving as the stage for intense and unrelenting combat. The city, now transformed into a labyrinth of rubble-strewn streets and shattered buildings, became a crucible of unprecedented brutality. The Soviet soldiers, driven by an unyielding determination and fortified by the spirit of defense, engaged in fierce, close-quarter combat, turning each block into a contested battleground. The clash of ideologies and the resilience of the Red Army against the backdrop of Stalingrad's ruins set the tone for a protracted and merciless struggle that would etch its scars on the city's landscape and the pages of history. The Germans coined it the Rattenkrieg, or the War of Rats, encapsulating the ferocity and desperation of the street-to-street, building-to-building urban warfare that defined the Battle of Stalingrad. The once proud city, now reduced to a maze of ruins, witnessed unrelenting brutality as both the German and Soviet forces grappled for control. Every inch of territory became a hard-fought battleground in this war of attrition. The twisted remnants of buildings and streets became the theater for a relentless struggle, where combatants engaged in close-quarters fighting, often with hand-to-hand combat becoming the norm. The title, War of Rats, reflected the gritty and brutal nature of this conflict, where survival instincts took precedence over conventional military strategies. Amidst the rubble, soldiers on both sides faced dire conditions: harsh weather, hunger, scarcity of supplies, and a constant specter of danger. The haunting reality of the War of Rats encapsulated the toll that Stalingrad exacted on those who fought within its shattered confines, as the city itself became a symbol of the brutal price of war. During the battle, two iconic locations emerged as focal points of intense combat: the Red October Factory and a place known Pavlov's House. The Red October Factory witnessed brutal step-by-step combat as both German and Soviet troops fought fiercely for control. Meanwhile, Pavlov's House, a 4-story residential building, Sergeant Yakov Pavlov and a diverse group of Soviet soldiers held their ground against the relentless German onslaught. Sergeant Yakov Pavlov, along with his multinational comrades, Russians, Ukrainians, Georgian, Uzbek, Kazakh, and others, transformed Pavlov's house into a fortress of unwavering resistance. Despite facing overwhelming odds, they tenaciously defended this strategic position for several days. But we will tell this story of Pavlov's house in another video. As the Battle of Stalingrad unfolded, the predicament for the German forces deteriorated rapidly. Besieged by the relentless onslaught of the Red Army, the Germans faced a multifaceted assault on their morale. Beyond the constant threat of Soviet forces, an array of adversities added to the strain. The brutal winter weather in Stalingrad, with temperatures plummeting to extreme lows of 40 degrees Celsius, inflicted untold suffering upon the already exhausted and ill-equipped German troops. Diseases ran rampant in the makeshift hospitals, further diminishing the combat effectiveness of the beleaguered soldiers. The harrowing conditions were exacerbated by the ever-present danger of rat bites. These rodents, thriving amidst the ruins, transmitted disease and added an additional layer of psychological torment to the already demoralized German forces. Amidst the freezing cold, rampant illnesses, and the gnawing fear of the unseen enemy, the German soldiers found themselves trapped in a nightmarish reality, and the toll on their morale became as profound as the physical destruction wrought upon city. Amidst the chaotic theater of this battle on the Soviet side, a singular figure rose to legendary status: Vasily Zaitsev, a Siberian marksman of extraordinary prowess. With an astounding tally of 262 enemies, including soldiers and officers, meeting their demise at the end of his scope, Zaitsev became an emblem of Soviet resilience and skill. His marksmanship was not only a lethal asset, but also a morale booster for the beleaguered Red Army. The tenacity and ability to navigate the treacherous urban battleground and battlefield by another Soviet snipers from Central Asia and Siberia turned the tide and moral in favor of the Soviet forces. Desperation during the Battle of Stalingrad forced both the German and Soviet forces into the grim depths of unconventional battlegrounds, and one of the most harrowing arenas became the city's sewers. In a macabre twist, soldiers found themselves waging a subterranean warfare, navigating the claustrophobic and filthy passages beneath the devastated city. The dank and dimly lit sewers, already notorious for their challenging conditions, now bore witness to a new chapter of brutality. Every inch gained or lost in this subterranean battleground held strategic significance, as control of the sewers meant potential routes for flanking maneuvers or covert movements. The algid moment in the battlefield unfolded with the strategic brilliance of Operation Uranus. As the brutal winter of 1942 set in, the Soviet Union orchestrated a counteroffensive that would alter the course of the entire Eastern Front. Operation Uranus aimed at encircling the German forces, particularly the beleaguered Sixth Army, led by Feldmarschall Friedrich von Paulus. The meticulous execution of this plan by Soviet commanders, including Marshal Georgy Zhukov, marked a turning point in the protracted conflict. The Red Army, leveraging their numerical advantage and learning from the earlier urban warfare, successfully surrounded the German forces. The tightening grip of Operation Uranus transformed the vast Stalingrad battleground into a trap, sealing the fate of the German Sixth Army. This critical juncture not only represented a military triumph for the Soviet Union, but also signaled the beginning of the end for the German offensive on the Eastern Front. In the bitter cold of the Stalingrad winter, a new dimension of destruction emerged as the Soviets unleashed the fearsome Katyusha rockets upon the German positions. These multiple rocket launchers, mounted on trucks and known as Stalin's organ, became a terrifying symbol of Soviet firepower. The eerie whistling of descending rockets preceded the devastating impact that turned the once bustling city into a hellish landscape. The relentless barrage from Katyusha rockets wreaked havoc on the German defenses, shattering buildings and morale alike. Faced with insurmountable odds, the once formidable German Sixth Army, led by General Friedrich Paulus, stood battered and encircled by the relentless Soviet offensive. On February 2, 1943, in a moment that resonated through history, General Paulus made the fateful decision to surrender, marking the capitulation of an entire German army and the first major defeat for Hitler's forces in World War II. The red flag of the Soviet Union was hoisted over the ruins of Stalingrad, a symbolic gesture that not only signified the triumph of the Red Army, but also marked a turning point in the broader conflict, echoing the tides of war shifting decisively in favor of the Allies. This city became a symbol of Soviet endurance and the beginning of the end for Nazi Germany's aspirations conquests to the east. Thank you very much for watching this video. Don't forget to follow our channel, share this video, activate the bell and like. Thank you very much, and see you soon.